Hey everyone, and welcome to episode number 80 of the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of JOMBOY Media. And we're going to welcome in not an active player, but he is at the front of your brain. At least he should be over the next several weeks, because for the first time ever, he is on the Hall of Fame ballot. He is former National League MVP and the Phillies all-time hits leader, J-Roll. Jimmy Rollins, it's good to see you. How are you, pal?
I'm good, brother. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, man. It's all's quiet. What'd you do with the kids, man?
Well, it's Tuesday, I believe.
Yes.
Which means they're in school.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
my kids are so old. I've kind of moved on from that stage of my life.
I'm sorry about that.
No. So we know that you're still broadcasting for TBS. You're still doing a lot of stuff, during the baseball season. So in the off season, what are you, dad? What keeps you busy?
Yes, I am a dad. I am a part-time golfer. Like all retired athletes, I've joined the golf retirement community, and that's pretty much about it. Honestly, between those two, I'm pretty busy. I go to the golf course, drop the girls off in the morning, go to the golf course, and then I run right back to pick them up. And then it's homework and dance and soccer and ballet and gymnastics. And then we start it all over again the next day.
I love it. Okay, let's start with the golf game. How good are we these days?
My handicap is down to a 12. Mm-hmm. It's been going up recently, which I'm not mad about because I get more strokes in the gambling game. Mm-hmm. You already know. So, everybody wants to get good. I'm like, no, you want to be good enough to get the strokes and then go out and have a great round when you're getting them.
All right. So do you play with like former teammates, players, or are you hobnobbing in the business world now?
Well, you know what? There are a couple. I'm a member at Lakeside, so we have a number of athletes that are joining there. Someone I'm very excited is coming through right now. I can't say the name. You know how the golf rules are. I can't give names.
What? Wait a second. You cannot do that. You cannot drop that. You can be like, it's an athlete. I'm super excited.
Let's just say there may be video emerging one day of us playing together. How about that? But other than that, it's a lot of entertainers over there. I've got to play around with Joe Pesci, which is awesome. Got to hear about his life story.
Oh my God.
Andy Garcia. So, I had the Godfather whole cast hanging out. I'm supposed to be linking up with MJ. So whenever Black comes through, he's getting into a couple of things that's going to bring him out to LA. So I'm waiting on that phone call. Will it come? These things go rosy, but it'd be nice to get that phone call and actually play with MJ. I played in his tournaments and played in front of him, and there won't be a crowd. So it'd be nice just to get him one-on-one or two-on-one and see if we could double team him, but no one ever could really stop that man.
All right, J-Roll, you know the deal with him on the golf course. You better bring your bankroll and then some.
See, and the guy that was telling me he was going to give me a call, I told him the same thing. Like, he bets. I'm like, you have to put a stipulation in the contract before he even gets out here that we're not betting more than $100 on the entire round. And then if he still shows up, then it's a real deal.
Dude, do you think he's going to show up with that stipulation?
I mean, you got to try something. I can't play golf with the way Michael bets. I'll be broke.
But isn't the opportunity to play around with MJ worth? Let's just say you drop 10 grand. 10 grand's a lot of money. I know you did really well. I know, but 10 grand's still 10 grand. But yep. Isn't it worth it just to say you played a round of golf with the greatest?
Sure. If you want to look at it that way.
Good.
Now, this is where it's worth it. You play a round of golf with MJ, 10 grand's on the line. And he has to invite you to play around with him at Grove 23. At that point, it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just a round of golf and there's no Grove 23 invite with him, nah.
By the way, we're all going based on that you're going to lose money. You might beat him.
This is true. This is true. I don't know if I'm going to beat him. I wouldn't lose the full 10 grand. My last few rounds, maybe it's time for a year where my last few rounds have been kind of sketchy, playing new courses as opposed to going to my home course, which I know, where I want to lay up, where I can be aggressive, how the ball's going to move on the green. So I do have the advantage there. So you know what? Yeah, there's a really good chance. There's a really good chance. I'm going to talk trash from the beginning. I don't wait to get up or down. I'm right out the gate. It's all about that psychological warfare. Although we know he's one of the masters of it, but I'm coming out the gate. I'm talking trash. That's for sure. So I will have an advantage. I just hope the game follows. Like I said, that handicap, you got to hope it's high enough, and then you get the strokes off that day and have a great day.
Can you talk shit on a baseball diamond?
I think if you're a first baseman and a catcher, yes. You have to have guys get to second base, and it has to be somebody either you really like or you really don't like. And I didn't like a lot of guys on the Mets, at least initially. They would get to second base, and I would always try to get in their head. I mean, if they're hot, hey, what are you doing? Like, you just taking pitches, you laying off. I wanted to get them thinking that they're great. Then when they get up there the next at bat, they're trying to impress me because they know I'm watching. And usually when that happens, people fold. So those opportunities come rare because a lot of times guys are either running past second base or they hit second base and they're going to the dugout because they're forced out either way. But I think at first base, you get a number of pitches there. And catcher, you get to see everybody as they come up to the plate. And there were some catchers that were very good at that for certain.
Really? Who were guys that tried to get in your head?
AJ Przinsky. We know all the stories about him, and it's true. Even if he likes you, I mean, sometimes you throw a compliment out there the first at bat, then the next at bat is something else, and it's like, man, this dude is really trying to get me to not concentrate on hitting. Brian McCann, he was like the sweetest guy. He sit there, talk to you while the pitcher is in his windup and getting ready to come, and all those little tricks that they would do. But I would say, as far as just talking shit, like for real, AJ. I mean, he didn't care to fight. He was going to stand up, bump you, make sure he got his pitcher all the advantages and his team all the advantages they could get that day.
Did you ever want to turn around to him and just say, AJ, shut the fuck up? Like, I'm working here, dude.
Yeah, you do. But, I understood if I did that, he wins. The times would be that he would win. So it's like, okay, you keep talking. At some point, it becomes like you have to figure it's like the crowd. At some point, you go black. You don't. It's just ambiance. It's just him doing his job, and it's up to me to make sure he doesn't get in my head. Some people hated it. They'll come back to the dugout, and he's always talking this and that. And it's like, see, he won. Now you're going up there, focus on him and what he's going to say to you, and maybe how you respond, as opposed to how am I going to get this hit or get the runner in.
Got it. How was your round with Pesci, by the way?
Fantastic. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. He told me stories from when he was a teen to some incidents he had in Paris, getting arrested. And it's funny how it started. He was like, how old are you? And I just turned 43. So at the time I was 42. I was like, 42. He was like, in my 40s? What was I doing? He's like, I was in France getting arrested. And so he told me the story. He was going to meet Al over there, Al Pacino. They were going over there at a restaurant to eat lunch. And he walked in. He only had US dollars. He didn't have any euros. And whatever the lunch was, I guess he told Al, I'll pay for it. He told the waiter, hey, here's $100. I'm not sure what the exchange is over here, but whatever it is, just give me the change back. And he said the waiters kind of gave him a funny look. And he was like, hey, cocksucker, here's $100. Take it and give me the change in euros. And the waiter took the money and kind of dropped it, like almost like essentially spit in his face. And like, what is this? We don't take dollars. And Pesci looked at him and was like, you're going to pick that up? I'm going to make you scrub your face with it. And the guy looked at him, just kind of blew him off. We don't take dollars. Pesci said he swung on him. Next thing you know, he grabbed him by his neck. You cocksucker, I told you. And next thing you know, Al's trying to get him off. Police come running in. He's in jail. And I was like, so the roles that you play in the movies aren't really too far off from who you really are. He just kind of looked at me, started laughing. And he's like, you're looking at me too long. You owe me money or something? And I was like, I don't want no smoke, Joe. I don't want no smoke. But it took about 4 or 5 holes to him to really, come alive. It was just, just getting used to me, trying to figure out who I was. Otherwise, we see him all the time, say hello to him. It took him about 4 or 5 holes. Then he opened up and we were just talking, had a great conversation about life. and just the different things that he's been through. So it was a pleasure. And every time I see him, it's still the same thing. He looks at me, I look at him. What's up, Joe? Hey, I know you. You owe me money, but why you staring at me, little cocksucker? And that's Joe. He's a great guy. Absolutely fantastic.
Dude, that is a great one. And Andy Garcia is a huge sports fan. I know he's more of a hoops fan than he is, I think, baseball fan. But
yeah, but he has his tabs on everything. He's a great guy. Just enjoy having him around. There's a time. There's great stories there where Chris Spencer, Andy Garcia, we finished a round and we're all at a round table. So Chris, being a comedian that he is, he starts popping off a joke. So what does Andy do? He comes with another one. Chris comes right back. Bam. Andy comes right back. And I don't remember what they were, so I'm not a comedian. I don't, but these were jokes that they had stored up and new ones, and let's try it on this crowd. And for about 30 minutes, they are literally going back and forth. And this was months ago. I've been a member since February of, this was still 21. So February this year. So this is probably about halfway through between now and then. And I was like, and this is exactly why I joined this club, because this is the camaraderie that, in the clubhouse when guys get going, it's just this banter. And here they are. It was just like, okay, you got a joke? And it was almost, and if you walked into it, you think they were just sharing, stories, but it was like, okay, I'm egging you on. I can up that, I can top that. And it was going back and forth. And I literally was there for about a half an hour. I'm like, I had to put myself out the seat. Like, I have to go. Like, I'm going to get in trouble. You guys are great, but I got to run. And I didn't want to, but man, it was probably one of my best moments besides Joe Pesci and that whole round, just post golf, just sitting there having drinks and chicken wings, listen to those guys go back and forth.
Who's the best shit talker you played with?
Ooh, that I played with?
Or against?
Do I include myself?
You can.
No, that'd be too self-fulfilling. I would have to say probably Shane Victorino.
Oh,
like God. Shane, yeah.
By the way, it's his birthday today.
Yes, it is. Happy birthday, Vic. I need to text him actually. Actually, I'll call him. He's my little brother. But yeah, he was that little, just always in the back of your ear. You turn around, he's right there saying something. But we had a team full of them, and we never lacked for material. There was material every single day. And I would say playing against, we will take AJ aside because he's a catcher. He just talks shit to everybody. No, you know what? No one really popped off that I can really think of, to me, because they knew I was coming back. So,
well, was there? Let me ask it this way.
I have to say Shane.
Was there ever a guy that, because I've talked to a ton of baseball players who were like, that guy over there is the biggest asshole ever, and then they end up being teammates, and you're like, dude, you're all right.
Right.
You ever run into those guys?
Not really briefly. And I'll say it because, maybe because they beat us in 2010, but Madison Bumgarner, just his demeanor on the mound, like nothing ever really got to him. And it was just like, I'm the coolest dude. I'm a big dude. You don't want none of the smoke. He just had that presence about him. And you respected it, but you despised it too. It's like, I just want to knock your teeth out, but in a baseball sense, like I want to give you the business and have you complaining to the umpire, cursing us out as you go into the dugout. And that's, as a pitcher, you want that. You want the other team to feel that way. But when I got to spend, a year competing against him with the Dodgers, I got to understand even more so why you would want to feel that way, because there's already a natural rivalry between the Dodgers and the Giants. And now this guy's up there. He's popping off, obviously, his run-ins with Puig. So you're always expecting something to happen at that time. And then 2 years later, I'm in the clubhouse with him in spring training. And we all, remember the incident that he had with Big Joe in San Diego. They had the stare down.
Yeah, with Joe West.
So we're playing the Colorado Rockies. The very next day, who's at third base? Joe West. So before the game, I'm trying to get his attention because I want to stare down at him, just get him to laugh, because Joe and I, we've had our run-ins, but who doesn't ever run in with Joe? But just so happened I hit a leadoff triple. So I slide in third base, and I'm staring at Joe. He's staring back at me. I call time. He gives me time, and I'm staring at him like, time. He's like, you got it. I said, time, Joe. And he just puts his hand on his hip and he stares at me. And I stare back at him. And he's like, you're not going to win. And I was like, I know. And start laughing. So we have a good time about it because he knows what it's all about. I'm in the clubhouse, so going on to the spring training with the Giants. We might walk in the clubhouse, and it's maybe about, well, let me take that back. So Madison Bumgarner, so this is still with the Dodgers. Madison, reaches out to Kershaw and was like, hey, ask Jimmy, is there a problem, or was that meant towards me or something like that, something to that nature. And so Kersh relays the message, and I just kind of started laughing because, yes, you're the one, between you and Joe was the incident, but this was between me and Joe. I wasn't worried about you. That you weren't on my mind when I was doing that. It was like, Joe, you always causing trouble. So now, excuse me, here's my turn to make light of it. So I'm going to do that. So that instant goes down, and I tell Kersh, well, we face him again. So, I mean, if something wants to be done, that's cool. Like, I'm not even worried about it. And I'm not sure if Kersh ever responded, but it was, I just found it comical. But it was more so, it was less personal and more that I'm with the Dodgers and he's with the Giants. So I got the whole dynamics of it. Then I get to the clubhouse in 17 for spring training, 2 or 3 days into it. Here comes Madison. He's coming over here. And same thing. Hey, he asked me again. And so I was like, it was just like, hey, were you trying to make fun of me when you got the third and you were sliding in the Joe? And I just kind of started laughing. So I was like, wow, you still on that? Like, that's not even on my mind. I'm just trying to make the team, which I didn't. And just hang out and just, and just enjoy you guys and get to see, for who my teammates will possibly be. Anyhow, so I told him, I was like, so you really thought that was about you? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, it wasn't. I was like, now let me ask you this. Was it more so that I did it, or was it more so that I was playing for the Dodgers? And he looked at me. He's like, it was the Dodgers. And we started laughing. And it squashed it all. Then every day after that, he's come up, hey, look at my J's. He got the Jordan cleats that was with Team Jordan. And what you think about these? And we were talking about little design elements that he could do to him because he was thinking about joining Jordan at the time. But that was that incident where it was just like, you know what? Once you're on his team and once you're on his side and you get to see who he is, other than just a competitor, he was a really good dude. So if there's a guy, I can't say he wasn't that so, but the perception was, yeah, they beat us in 2010. He was a man. He's Mr. Left arm in the postseason. And yeah, I wasn't supposed to like him. But then when I played for his team, I was like, I see why his teammates, backed this guy up because he's a really good dude.
Nice. Hey, guys, it's the holiday season. You know what that means? People like to celebrate. In some cases, some people like to get busy too. But what happens when things aren't working 100% south of the equator? You're going to say, all right, that's it. Out of the game. I'm done. I'm going to sit on the sidelines. That part's over. No. Take care of it because you're not alone. Did you know that more than half of the men ages 40 to 70 deal with some form of erectile dysfunction? Well, guess what? There's a way that you can get some help, courtesy of Roman. Go to getroman.com/JOMBOY. You'll speak to a U.S. licensed healthcare professional about any form of erectile dysfunction. You're going to get $15 off your first month of treatment. Now, here's a nice thing. Sometimes it's tough to talk about that topic. Well, here you do it from the comforts of your own home. You don't go to a doctor's office. If you get prescribed medication, you don't have to get to a pharmacy and they'll say, hey, who's next in line? You'd be like, no, that's not the way it's done. If that U.S. licensed healthcare professional says you need medication, it shows up to your door in a couple of days and it's taken care of. So once again, it is getroman.com/JOMBOY to set up your appointment, and you're going to get $15 off your first month of treatment. Go do that, okay? Take care of yourself so you can take care of that someone special in your life. It is that simple. Get Roman ready. Your Philly teams had some amazing personalities. Was Burrell as weird as I thought he was?
You said was Burrell as weird as you thought he was. He has many sides. Obviously, we know the machine, which came a little bit later, but there were years leading up to that. And when you know Pat and you see that happen, you aren't surprised. You can't believe that he actually did it, but you aren't surprised. And it was like, if anyone could do that and get away with it, it's him. He started out as Pat the Bat. And then, we had the photo shoot where Pat is half naked and, It's all up on the billboards and all the women going crazy at the time. So I got to see the progression of it. I've known Pat since we were in high school playing with the AAU team together. So I've known him since, when he was normal. Then he got to college and started making the transition. Then he got in the minor leagues. And when he got to the bigs, it was happening. It was just a matter of time. It was just a natural progression for him to become the machine. But weird, no. Different, funny, a comedian, a guy that you want in your corner for certain.
Why did people hate Chase Utley?
Can you name them for me?
A lot of the league, the Mets.
I
mean,
the Mets.
Obviously, we know the one thing, but it seemed like people hated playing against him. Did they not?
Now, I would say they hated his intensity because they couldn't match it. They knew that they had to bring their lunch. There was never going to be a give. There wasn't going to be a pitch or a bat that he was going to give away. Didn't matter the score. And if you're up against that and you want a guy just to fold, just to give me something, that's the wrong guy. You're not going to get that from him. You're going to earn every single out, every single win. And they also knew he was a difference maker. He didn't say much. And maybe that was something that they wanted. They wanted to get to see him, get to know him, say, hey, there are a couple guys that he would talk to. I mean, literally, you can count on one hand, guys that he would talk to. But other than that, he's always watching you. He's always accusing you of cheating, picking signs. And he just had this demeanor about him that made you think he was crazy. And he might have been a little bit crazy. I mean, I was on the inner circle, that circle of trust. But I just think it was the fact that there was no give, there was no break. And you wanted to see that the guy was human, and he would never let you see that unless you were his real good friend.
Why did Ryan Howard catch the ball with two hands?
Because one didn't always work.
Dude, I always wondered that. I was like, J-Roll must be so pissed at just reach that glove out there.
Rosie. Yeah. I like his hands were probably about like this, and I don't know if they made a glove big enough for him. So it was like he was literally catching the ball with his fingertips, and the web was only about that big. So I think he felt better doing this. And if you ask him, he'd always say my balls were moving, coming to him, they're sinking, they're cutting. And I'm like, I throw one of the, besides JJ Hardy, probably one of the truest four-seamers over to first base. So I'm not sure what's happening with your eyes or what's happening, but the ball should not hit your hand and fall out. And he worked hard. He worked hard. He worked hard on his catching, worked hard on his throwing, and actually became a pretty good defender. There are times I would bounce the ball over there, and I'm just like, oh, Lord, this is going to end up bad. And he'd pick it, and I'm like, oh, Ryan, I'm giving him props. And he throws it around, and the ball's in the left field. It's like, well, we still have work to do. But, hey, we start with the catch. The throwing, we'll work that out. But thank you for saving my life, and we'll have the ball girls go grab that. But that is a question that we could never figure out. Like, you would hit him right in his chest, just like, whoa. And you were kind of embarrassed because you were embarrassed for him. It's like, this should not be happening. But how do I cure it? Somehow he worked hard enough to start making one-hand picks, but his normal catch was still definitely, unless it was like the long stretch, was the two-hand come off the bag, almost like he was falling. And, that's what worked for him.
Having a tough time doing a little shopping during the holiday season. You're like, oh my God, my family, my friends, I don't know what to get them. They've got everything. My brain's about to explode. Guess what? Dugoutmugs.com is the answer for you. They got a little bit of everything. I've shown you this before. The great engraving with the rose rotation. They got the wind up, everything. And how about this? The one and only metal baseball mug. It keeps things hot. It keeps things cold. You can do little cheers. Go get it. And by the way, if you're talking about buying things for friends, why don't we do the knob shot as well, right? You fire this baby up. You're like, cheers. Let's have a great time. We're going to party it up. You can't do this with just one. So make sure you get 2, 3, 4, or whatever number of people that actually pretend to be your friends will be. And you grab this, throw it down, have a great time, laugh, love a little, and then you can do this. I love that. Ever since Plouffe taught me this thing, I just do it nonstop around the house, right? I mean, if that's not reason enough alone to buy a knob shot from Dugout Mugs, I don't know what is. So go out, get yourself this. Go get yourself the metal one. Go get yourself the knob shot. Go get yourself the wind up. I don't care. Oh, by the way, we're trying to help you save money. Dugoutmugs.com. Code word is JOMBOY. Get 30% off before they sell out. Cheers. You grew up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
When did you know that Philly fan was different?
Oof. It's funny. Like, I don't know how I first heard about, the reputation of Philly fans or how old I was. Only thing I knew was in 96, the year I got drafted, they had the All-Star game in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
That stadium was trash. I mean, people might kill me now for saying that was trash, but it was trash, especially coming from the Bay. Not that we had a great stadium, an open Coliseum, but different colored seats, AstroTurf. Like, what is this? Like, this place is horrible. Lines all over the field, patches, all that stuff throughout. And I was like, well, that's a place I would never want to play. And this is before the draft. This is before the draft. You go to 93, Rickey Henderson, my favorite player. We beat the Phillies. I was the happiest man, not because we beat the Phillies, because Rickey got another ring. That was all it was about, Rickey getting another ring. 3 years later, I'm getting drafted. And you get into the organization and you hear about Philly fans being tough. But I'm in A-ball. So maybe I was 17 when I really first figured it out. But I'm in A-ball. I'm in rookie ball. Why am I worried about Philadelphia fans? And then I showed up at Martinsville, Virginia. And it just passes down. If they're tough up there, you're going to learn immediately when you get when you get here. So
wait a second, they're bad in the minor leagues. The fans are tough.
Oh yeah, it was like, if you can survive here, where there are only 40 or 50 fans, but you can hear every single thing they say to you, and they're sitting right on the fence. The minor league fence is like high school; they're standing 10 feet from your ear. Then you can make it up there. So and it's the same thing. They love to cheer you, but they love to get on you too. And in the minor leagues, it becomes more comical. It's like, okay, who's going to get it worse today? So you went to the field saying, I have to have a good game so the fans wouldn't get on me. And so you learn to live with that pressure right away. But I enjoyed it. I learned how to acknowledge it at times. Look, Rosie, you've been around. They're going to say some things sometimes. You're going to have to look like, hey, that was good. And then they'll leave you alone. But when you sit there, you give them a mean face or you pop off back, I got you. It's kind of like AJ Brzezinski, I got you. Now I'm being your ear all day. And in baseball, you have series. When you turn around, they say something good and you laugh like, all right, now that was good. They laugh and smile with you. Oh, you all right? And then they leave you alone. So I learned that then, although sometimes it's harder than others, but I learned right away that if you're not performing, they will let you know and get ready. Because when you get to the big leagues, instead of 500, it's going to be, at the vet, it was about like 5,000. But when you got to CVP, you're talking about 40,000 on any given night. So bring your A game.
Was there anything, and you had a great relationship with the fans, and we saw it when you came back with the Dodgers for the standing O, but was there ever a time where you regretted something you said?
No, never. Everything I said, I meant, and everything I said, I had a reason. People, have always asked me about Philly fans, and I tell them, to understand what a Philadelphia fan is, or really any East Coast city, Philly always gets, the rep for being tough. And yes, it is. But when you're on the East Coast, that's just how these people are made on that Eastern seaboard. They're made that way. That's the cloth they're cut from. But when you understand that, I played 14 years in Philadelphia. When I left, that team goes on. When you leave, someone's going to fill that position. Someone else is going to be wearing that uniform. So you're borrowing it. They live this their entire life. And you will start to understand that they truly, in their heart of hearts, really believe that they want to win as a fan base, more than you do as a player at times. And if you don't match that passion, then they don't want you here. They want you out. They want you gone because you're not really with it. You're not with the shits. You're out there just playing around about the money, about the show. You don't really care about this city. You don't have the passion to win as we do as a fan base. When you understand that the Phillies name on front and Philadelphia, you're representing them. They really need you to represent them. It isn't about you. It isn't always about the 25 guys on the field. It's about this whole city. It's about us. We need you to bring that passion and understand we want you to win so bad because you bring that joy into our life. You bring, something that we can't, that dream that we once had and that we failed. We're relying on you to just to bring back some of that nostalgia, give us something to be hopeful about. And when you understand that about the fan base, you can understand the fans. Then it becomes a family. And in families, you're going to say things. That doesn't mean everyone outside can say it. I can say that about my brother. I can say that about my dad. I can say that about my cousin. But if you say something about it, you're not an insider, then we have an issue. And that's what it was. Look, they could get on me. That's fine. I could get on them back. That's fine. I show up the next day, they cheer. I show up the next day, you know what I'm saying? And I'm giving love to the crowd. That's what it was like. So anything that may have seemed other than that on the outside, I would get it. But it's like a family. Until you're in the family, know the dynamics, you might be confused about a number of things. But when you're on the inside, you can say things are forgiven. And, you meant what you said because that's your truth. And you keep moving.
When did you realize that it was a big thing to be the Phillies shortstop? Was there a time when you were walking around town? Was it something like that where you're like, holy shit, this is big?
You know what? I would say immediately in the minor leagues, for me immediately in this way. Larry Bowa was my first manager. Well, technically Tito Francona was, so I got caught up in September. But my first full-time manager was Larry Bowa, who was the greatest Philly shortstop, coming in
at the time.
At that time. So he came to see me in Arizona Fall League. And, for years I heard about Larry Bowa, and obviously you hear about the 1980 team because that was really only success that the Phillies had at that level. So I was well aware of who he was. Didn't know any of his stats. I just heard about, Larry Bowa. Now he's going to be my manager. And I remember telling him, that, Veteran Stadium, this is your place, but when they build that place across the street, that's going to be my house. You built this house. This was yours. This is your legacy. 1980 Phillies. Well, you got, 77 or 78, 79, and they won in 80. They had a fight like a 5-year run like we did, almost identical. You built that house, but that's gonna be my house across the street. And all I ever wanted to do was, once I started looking at his numbers, I'm like, well, I want to hit more home runs than you. And just to get on I was never trying to be better in a sense, but to change the narrative that you're the shortstop that they talked about. When I'm done, I want to be the shortstop that they talk about. And that's all it was. And it was healthy competition. I needed somebody to compete against. I compete against the guys, that I'm playing against daily. But I was competing against always, the legacy, the legend of Larry Bowa. So that made me push myself even harder because no matter what I did, if I didn't bring a championship there, if we didn't bring a championship there, it didn't matter. Personally, yeah, okay, cool. But he was on a championship team. So when we finally won in 08, I think that's when it started turning over that people can stop talking about the 1980 team and hold on to that championship because now we have something more present. And at that point, I think maybe it happened prior to that, but for me personally, that's when it's like, all right, I've accomplished what I said I was going to do. And that was when we built that place across the street that we would bring a championship there.
Hey, everybody that's watching this or downloading this on Tuesday, tonight I've got your entertainment picked out for you. 7:00 Eastern, we have our first live stream Bingo tournament. 8 people are going to be doing this thing, including the likes of JOMBOY and Jake. BBD will be there. Joe's, Jolly, Justin Shackle will be there from Towing the Slab. So make sure you check it out. They're going to have the live stream, 7:00 Eastern, see who's the best of the best. Jake has already got kind of the fake Bino belt because he really hasn't put it on the line against the best Bino players in our office. I'm sure that's coming somewhere down the line, but they're going to be handing out the belt. Somebody's going to be wearing it tonight. Is it going to be Jake? Is it going to be somebody else? Check it out tonight. It's on our John Boy and Jake, the YouTube channel. Once again, 7:00 Eastern. If you're listening to this or consuming it on Wednesday or beyond, don't worry. You can see it won't be the live stream, but you can check it out and see who won the Bino belt. You mentioned earlier that Rickey Henderson was your guy growing up.
Yep.
Out there in the Bay Area. Do you remember the first time you met him?
Yep, I do. It was in San Diego, my rookie year. And when I say met him, I played against him previously. He got the second base. I said hello to him then, but it's just so quick because the pitcher's going. And when he got second, I just wanted to stand next to him. I kind of want to touch him, just like, oh, I touched Rickey. But it's like, it's a game, and, you got to keep that, that look. You got to be stoic and professional. And I'm just like, man, this dude, Rickey's really a second base. And it was like me being a kid all over again, going to Oakland Coliseum, looking at Rickey Henderson, just trying to get him to wave hello at me. But it was in San Diego. I had an off day. I was struggling coming into that series. And Larry Bow was like, hey, I'm going to give you a day off. And I don't know, he knew something. I obviously knew I was Rickey Henderson fan. It's like, hey, I heard Rickey comes in on the days that he's playing. He's going to be playing tomorrow. Comes in about 2:30, does a little workout, sit there, he does his curls. And, I thought you'd like to know that. I'm like, all right, cool. Whatever. Who knows? He might be playing tomorrow. He might not. It's a day game. That Rickey don't play day games. So here I'm at the hotel with a day off, and everybody knows me. Stretches at 4:30. I walk in at 4:25, do my little Superman routine. I'm out on the field. So I'm not playing. 1:30 comes around, and just like, Rickey might be in there today. Like, why don't you go? Nah, why am I going to the field that early? I don't do that. I don't having this conversation with myself, but I'm putting on my clothes. And I get dressed. I get dressed, jump in the cab, just to still over at a Qualcomm over there. Uh-huh. Get dressed, jump in the cab, get to the field early. So now I walk in. Larry Boyd looks at me. What the fuck are you doing here? I'm like, I just want to come in and get a little workout. I was bored at the hotel. There's nothing to do, so I might as well just come work out. Hiding my motive, because inside I'm like a little kid, like, and I kind of feel like an idiot. Like, what if he's not there? Now you were here 2 hours before a stretch. You, Bo, and the coaching staff. No one else is in the clubhouse on a day you're not playing. Like, what are you going to do for the rest of this time? So I get dressed. I'm putting on my shorts and my shirt. I don't even think I put on socks. Just put on my turf and I just wanted to go see if Rickey was in there. So now I'm walking. I'm full of confidence. Like, yeah, I'm about to go meet Rickey. I asked security, hey, where's the gym? He's like, oh, it's the next door on the right. Sure enough, I get to the door. So now that confidence turns into, oh shit, what if he's really in there? What are you going to do? I mean, it was literally like poo-poo. And so I was like, okay, so now I'm getting ready to grab the door handle, and I'm shaking. I'm like a little kid all over again. And I'm only 21 at the time. And so if you know me, Rickey's been my guy since I could walk and say the word baseball. And so now I'm trying to go my game plan. Okay, what if he's in here? What do you do? If he's not in here, are you really going to go work out? Because you just told Bo you're going to go work out, or what are you going to do? So I'm trying to get this all to my head in about 3 seconds. So I'm like, all right, just open the door. You're already here. Open the door, crack it. Head comes around the side. I look in there. There's Rickey looking right back at me. And I shut the door. I'm like, oh shit, he's in there. He's in there. So now I'm tripping. Like I'm bugging out. I'm like, man, like, he saw you. You got to go now. Like, you can't. You have to go. Like, you got to go in there. Like, just all right, calm down. So I take a deep breath, walk in. Bye. Look at Rick, looking in the mirror, deep voice. What's up, Rick? He looked at me. What's up, little James? I'm like, oh shit, he knows my name. He knows my name. Okay, he has 25s. You can't lift more than Rick. Okay, grab the 20s. Just grab the 20s and be cool. But I want to cry. Like, I was just like a little kid. Like, he knows my name. I'm like, how does he know my name? Then all the times that my dad had told me when I was a kid, if you want to meet Rick, just let me know. We could call Fred. Fred knows where Rick is all the time. Rick and my dad grew up blocked from each other, competing against each other in high school. Fred Atkins is their mutual best friend.
Oh my God.
And I thought they were just talking. I thought this, just puff and smoke. Like, I don't want to bother Rick or Fred. Like, whatever. I meet him when I meet him. Then it all started coming back to me like, Rickey knows my dad as James. So he's calling me Little James, which my birth name is James. So he's calling me like as in a descendant of my father. Like he knows me. Like he's not Jimmy or J. Rose. Like, what's up, Little James? Like, I know your dad and I know you since you were a kid. And I'm tripping, like I'm just bugging. I'm hitting these curls and I'm looking at them. And I was like, hey, Rick, I just got to tell you, deep voice, you're my favorite player growing up. You're my childhood hero. And he just laughed at me. I'm like, oh, man, you make me feel old. And I was like, I just had to say it. Finished the set, walked out, was like, all right, I see you out there. And he leaves. So I'm just sitting on a bench with 20-pound dumbbells in my arm, just like, he knows my name. And I'm looking at the door like, please don't come back in there because I'm going to start crying. You know what I'm saying? And he walks out. And now my brain is again, okay, do I leave now? Because what if he's just right there talking to somebody? Then he's going, no, I just came in there just to see him and say hello. So just chill, just wait 5 minutes, maybe do a couple more curls, and just chill. It just happened fast. And so sure, it's like the exact opposite. I open up the door, Pete, Rickey's not out there. And now I'm walking on cloud now all the way back to the clubhouse. And I walk in, and who was the first person there? Larry Boa. So was he in there? I was like, yeah. And he knew my name. And I sat at my locker for about 2 hours. I just watched everybody come in. I'm still dressed in shorts and a tee. Well, I watched everybody come in, and I just had this look in my face like I just met Jesus. And it was, my best baseball story ever. And I'll never forget it, and I'll never get tired of telling it.
That's amazing. It's the best one I've heard. It's the best one I've heard. Does he still call you Little James?
I haven't seen him in a couple of years. But when I do, he calls me Little James all the time. And it's and he's the only person that can call me James. It's like, James, no, that's my dad. Like, that's my dad. But every time I see him, it's Little James. And I think the last time I saw him was at the Oakland Coliseum. Actually, it's been a few years now because I haven't been to many games. At the Oakland Coliseum when we played, there in 14 or 15. No, 16 with the White Sox. He came out to that game. Sure enough, my dad, Rickey, Fred, everybody hanging out after the game, said hello. Then, it gets crazy with Rickey. Everybody wants to be a Rickey fan. Jim is just like, you cool, Jim, but that's Rick. And it's like, all right, Rick, I'll see you later, man. Go there, do your thing. Get up out of here. So now it's almost like I feel like I'm cool enough to be like, all right, we good, Rick. Like, you good, bro. Where in the past, I'm like, no, please just stay around a little longer.
Anyway, well, of course, he is in Cooperstown.
Yes.
First time ever you have a chance to be there. You are on the ballot. And we'll find out within the next 5 weeks or so. Are you nervous?
No, I'm not nervous. And it's funny, right? Because it's so far out. It's something that, when I was playing, I was asked about. And it's like, yeah, who doesn't want to be a Hall of Famer, essentially? Like, I don't play this game to not be compared to the best. And kind of like I was saying, I was competing against the legend of Larry Bowa all that time. Guys that have come before me in this game, Ozzie Smith, Cal Ripken, or two that I really watched growing up. Mike Bordick being a local guy, guys that I thought were great, although Mike isn't a Hall of Famer, guys I thought were great. Like, those are guys I'm competing against. Whether, we're on the field together or not, doesn't matter. I'm competing against the legend of those. I have to live up to that legacy. And then being in the Bay Area, Rickey, Joe, are guys that, are big time Hall of Famers, guys that for me felt tangible. Pop Starger, although it was much before me, I went to Encinal High School, where he went, named Willie started to feel I've been in this forever. It felt like. So yeah, I've always said that I want to be a Hall of Famer when I'm done. I'm competing against those guys. I want to be in those talks. Now, will it happen? I don't know. When I played, I didn't think about it. But if you ask me, then yeah. I mean, why else am I playing this game? Win a championship, one, but to be compared with the greats when I'm done. So other than that, I've never thought about it. Even now, when people ask, hey, are you on? When are you coming on? The answer's like, I have no idea. And like, how long have I been out the game? And I'll sit there, have to count the years. I'm like, sure, I don't know. So maybe about another year or two. And with that being said, because this isn't something that I have so much going on outside of life, I think that has helped that I haven't had to think about it. And even coming on this year, I want to say it was either Anthony Gwynn, as he calls himself, Tony Jr., or Dontrell, or someone else like sent me a DM and was like, congratulations. I'm just like, about what? Did I miss something? So I'm Googling stuff like, what happened? And it's like, man, you're on the ballot. I was like, oh, snap. Like, that's dope. And it's really more like, that's dope, because I can't control that anymore. I've done what I've done on the field, and I'll either get voted in or I won't. And that's that. And it'd be nice to be voted in. I think as the day becomes right in my face that, hey, it's happening tomorrow, they're going to announce it. Maybe at that point I'll feel some type of way, but it's still far enough away that I'm not worried about it. And actually, Ed Wade, who was a GM when I first got there and the guy that drafted me, he actually sent me a text yesterday. And it's like, not that I try to get away from it, because I don't. I'm not running from anything, obviously. But it's like all these reminders like, hey, it's coming up this year and et cetera. And people, some people feel I should be in, obviously some won't. And it's like, that's pretty cool to have people, to know that people are on your side. And I've always said, just be part of that talk. And Larry Boa, who I think probably had the biggest role in that years ago, told me that, hey, not getting in the Hall of Fame does not mean you did not have one hell of a career. And I think at that point it was like, and I'll say that because it matters, but it's like, don't focus on it mattering, because you had one hell of a career, whether you get in or not. What you did at this position, what you did in this city, the impact you had on the game and your teams was real.
That's a real healthy way to look at it.
Yeah.
I have to admit that if I were up for something like that, and there was, I don't know if you know this, but you're on social media. Some people turn in their ballot, and there's a guy that collects them and posts, the voting as it goes. He doesn't get all the ballots, but he gets a decent number, and he'll say, hey, with 50% of the ballots reported to me, this is what it would look like. I'd be checking and seeing, hey, if they vote for Jimmy Rollins or not. You're not going to be doing that.
I didn't even know that existed until now.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
My bad.
Because that is awesome, because the people that do know, they'll probably, tweet me and reach out and let me know anyway. So that part's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a cool process. And I've always been on the other side. Like, I wonder how, these guys feel when the cameras come in their house and this is their first year, maybe they don't get it. Then the cameras show up the next year and they finally get in. Like, how does that work? Or the camera is there as a sign of, hey, we know something you don't. Like being on outside, looking in, you one of those things. But when you're going through it, it's different. And I'll use as a game winner. When you're on the bench and you're not the guy at the plate, it's like, you feel this energy and this excitement, but also this nervousness because it could go wrong. But when you're the guy in the box, I just have a job to do. And you focus on that. So everything else doesn't really matter. It's like the same things. Like, I'm in the box right now. Like, the fans, and, they're hopeful, and they're hoping and they're praying and, want something great to happen. But I'm the guy in the box.
I do want to ask you this, though.
Yep.
There are several guys on the ballot who have been suspended because of PEDs. Does it bother you that those guys might take votes away from you, because voters can only vote for 10 guys on the ballot? They can't vote for as many as they want. Does it bother you that there are guys that are known cheaters that might steal some of your votes?
It doesn't bother me. And I'll say that if a guy's a known cheater and someone wants to vote for him, that's their right. That's their prerogative. Hopefully my numbers, my career, my comparisons, however they do it, outweighs that. And if it doesn't, then so be it. Guys that have been suspended and served their time, they have a right to be on the ballot too, because they played the game. Did they break a rule? Did they break a bylaw? Then they get punished for it. So their punishment is on being on the ballot and not getting a vote. If someone votes for them because they felt before that issue, you never know when a guy, started or ended. But if they feel before that issue that this guy was already a Hall of Famer, then give that man his roses. It isn't a hall of, who's good. It was, what did you do on the field, the impact you made, and how do you stand up against the greats? And I'm okay with that. They talk about putting an asterisk, by certain people to represent that time of the game. History's always done that. Was done both. It's tried to clean up things and make them look better, and the other side is calling it for what it is. And where do you lie on that side of it is your personal choice. So there are guys that that on their last straw that I felt were great. Some of the best players I've played against. The advantage is it didn't make them a better ball player per se, but you get down to August, September, and you're running on 60 for 75%, and they're still running at 85, 90. And yeah, they have that advantage. So when we talk about, what it does, it's you don't get tired. When everybody else is breaking down, you keep pushing through, and that's a clear advantage. But who's to say when they started, when they stopped? And if somebody wants to vote for him, a voter wants to vote for him, it's their prerogative. I just hope that my numbers and what I did and what I represent and how I played the game outweighs that, and they send that vote my way.
I do not have a vote. I'm not a baseball writer. I've been around the game. I'm not. I'm just a dorky, whatever I am. But I've been around the game, and here's how I look at it. I thought baseball and individual players were both in the wrong because they didn't care enough about it at negotiation time to clean it up. Mm-hmm. So I would have always voted for Bonds. I would have always voted for Clemens.
Agreed.
I would draw the line at A-Rod and Manny Ramirez because there was now an implementation of a program put in place by the league. Finally, somebody cared enough. And if you then abused it, and same with Rafael Palmeiro, is that where you would draw the line as well?
I agree with everything you said because of that. Because at that point, you knew, what was outside the lines, and you continued to do it. But some of those guys, prior to that, like I said, we don't know when they started. We can't really actually say. All we can say is from this point on, we know that you cheated. This year, this time, at this point on, we know you cheated. And then you look at the numbers before that point, like were they a Hall of Famer? And if so, I think you can still grade them on that. If their run, I know they have like a 5-year stretch, a 10-year stretch. If at any point they crossed over into that gray area, that becomes a more difficult conversation because there was, a rule or a bylaw that said you can't do this because of that. Yeah. So agreed. There weren't stipulations or rules prior to that. So who knows who was and who wasn't. But at that point, once they started testing, now you're really going above and beyond to cheat.
I wish you luck, however it does turn out. I've got one or two more things, and I really am so appreciative of your time. And I know people really enjoyed the conversation.
Brother. It's been a while. We need this.
I know. I did not know this until I looked it up, that you are Tony Tarasco's cousin.
So here's a funny story. So my cousin, Marcel Johnson, played ball with Tony in the minor leagues. And this is how it all started. So yes, we're not cousins by blood, but we're cousins through my cousin. So when Tony was playing with the Braves, this is 1995. He was with the Braves, 96. So 95, 96 is before I got drafted. We would go see Tony when he came into town to play against the Giants. And so after the games, he would always bring me down, introduce me to Cox. It was like, hey, this is my younger cousin, Jimmy. He's playing and, he's looking to get drafted. He's really good, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So everywhere we went, if he introduced me to another major leaguer or a coach, it was, this is my cousin. So then it became Jimmy's cousin. And I'm like, well, shoot, it can't hurt me. He's in the big leagues. I know they love that lineage. You have a big leaguer in the family. So let's just keep pushing it down. So for years, it was like, yeah, that's my cousin. That's my cousin. And then years after that, I've tried, well, he's not really my cousin, but he's cousins. He's real good friends with my cousin. So we just kind of let that go on. And no matter what I said, no one listened. It was like, well, he's your cousin. All right, well, fine. He's my cousin. Like, it's cool. It works, And it's been something that's been going on for years. And it wasn't until, and I've seen Tony for years, like personally, but he came back. He's with the Mets. Was he with the Mets or the Nationals?
I think, it was one of those, I think.
One of them. Why am I drawing a blank? I want to say it's the Nationals. He's with the Nationals first base coach. And this year, when he came into town, I ran back into him. I had his number for years, but he would switch it. And so, we kind of lost track with each other. I was in the booth and I'm looking up, I'm looking down, he's looking up. And I tell B. Schneider, who I was texting, like, hey, give Tony my number. We go out to dinner after the game and we just reconnected and had a real good talk, man-to-man talk. And it was just awesome to see from who he was then transition to who he is now. Completely different person. I was almost kind of like, how do I approach this new guy? This is not, as he's calling himself Baby Jack. It's not Baby Jack. This is Anthony Tarasco. This isn't Baby Jack Tony. This is Anthony Tarasco. I'm like, man, this is nice to see that, he's changed and done so much with his life, and to have him back in the game.
Yeah, it's nice.
That was a blessing. He thought he was done and was never going to be allowed back in the game, but he's back in the game. And now he's, inspirational and really someone that the players can go and talk to and discuss life, their issues with, and he gives them guidance. That's his role as first base coach, but also as a mentor on that team. So just to see him go from what he was to this is like, wow.
That's really nice. That's nice that you guys were able to reconnect. But you bring up his name and people only think of one thing. Yeah. That's the Jeter home run in the 98 playoffs. Was
that really a home run?
I don't know. What did he tell you? He was right under it.
You know what? He said, we see the video. It was like, if you jumped, maybe you could have got the interference call, but it was in New York and it was Derek Jeter. But he said the ball was coming down in his glove. And I still look at him like, I had it hitting off the top of the wall, but it's cool. It's always going to be a home run because it was called that. It's going to be one of those plays that you could watch over and over. And clearly the glove was, a good half arm over the wall, but I don't think it was in the glove. I think it was hitting off the top of the wall. Probably would have been a double or triple, but history has it. It's a walk-off home run. And, we have Mr. November.
Yes, we do. All right. Last thing I want to get to before we play our game. Dude, you got to meet Obama?
Yeah. A couple times. And that was, I would have to say it's probably courtesy of the Bidens, Dr. Jill Biden, who was a big fan of mine.
Yes.
Big fan of mine. From the 2008 World Series, she was sitting on the side and she was chilling. And I was like, hey, on the first base side too. And we're on the third base side. I'm like, hey, go, get Jill Biden a jacket. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, no, get her my jacket. Don't just get her anyone's jacket. I see what's happening. Get her my jacket. And ever since then, she had become a fan of mine. Had my bobblehead on a nightstand, and Joe was like, I was the only man that he would let sleep next to his wife in his bedroom. So it was a little running. It's been a running joke for years. And then obviously during the 2008, we get to go to the White House. Everyone formally gets to meet the president that way. And then we were invited to the Motown. It was, I think, Barry Gordy that did at the White House. So found out, grabbed the jet, flew out in the storm. Plane felt like it was going down, but we made it through, got to the White House, hang out with the Obamas, and that whole Motown crew. Got to meet Stevie Wonder, take a picture. So, yeah, I was blessed. I was pretty blessed.
It's got to be like one of the top 3 moments ever.
No doubt. It was you sitting there and it's like, I'm really at the White House. Like, this is crazy. I did a White House dinner with Bush. He had us over. Baseball players, everybody know the Bush family, huge baseball fans, had us over for a dinner, one of the staterooms, and that was cool. That was George Wills, I believe it is, that lined that up. Number of us showed up there, and that was cool because I was like, whoa, like this is outside of, hey, the White House visit. We're sitting here with the president and first lady having a dinner in the stateroom. And that was because it was formal, but this is something completely informal. Motown presents, artists and the Obamas and the Bidens and just Motown royalty. And it's like, yeah, you're in this inner circle because that's not going to happen again.
So by the way, you could just pick up the phone and be like, I'm going to call the president. Lady. Like you could.
I've tried. I haven't got a response back yet. I've reached out to congratulate them. But you know what? Running a country is a pretty tough job, so I'm not offended.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Here on the Rose Rotation, we spin the wheel of moderately interesting things. And so they're very easy questions. I'm not very smart.
All right.
You'll answer it. We'll get you back to the first tee. Wild ride. Ooh, good one. What was the first car you ever had?
Ooh, first car I ever had that I owned, like that, it was my car.
Whichever direction, whatever makes the best story.
All right. Well, the car that I learned to drive in was a 1987 Firebird. Red Firebird.
Really?
Red bucket seats. Yep, you had, what was the, I don't know, it was a drive shaft, alternator, whatever's in the middle that would get hot after about 30 minutes. So you couldn't touch it. You couldn't touch it. But on the cold nights, it felt good because you just put your hand on there. It's like, ooh, we don't need the heater on in the back seat. So yeah, you had the Firebird with two, with the bucket seats in the front, the bucket seats in the back, and whatever that big hump in the middle is, you knew after about 30 minutes, don't touch it because that thing is on fire. So that was the first car I learned to drive in. And then the first car I ever purchased, that was when I got drafted, it was a Mitsubishi Diamante green. I put 20-inch rims on it, sound system, alarms, and everybody in the town in Oakland, everybody in the town, it went from a Mitsubishi Diamante to Jimmy has a green Jaguar. I don't know how it happened. And it was like the Tarasco story. I just let it go. It's like, hey, you see Jim in a green Jag? And I would hear like, I don't have a Jag. It's a Mitsubishi Diamante on top of everything else, a Jag. So between those two, it was some pretty good stories.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. This hour flew by, man. I really appreciate it. And it was great to reconnect a little bit. Tell Pesci and Garcia and maybe MJ, say, hey,
for sure. Yeah.
Go win some dough. Don't cross Pesci. We've learned that.
You already know that. You don't want to scrub your face with the ground. You don't want to do that.
No. If you reconnect with the Bidens or the Obamas, tell them we say hello.
I definitely will.
And I know you're not checking in the ballots every day, but I wish you the best of luck. And I hope there's some people that put the big X next to Jimmy Rollins in the positive column, okay?
I appreciate that too, Chris. Thank you, brother.
Special shout out to our producer, editor extraordinaire, the one and only Robbie Scirocco. And thanks very much to you for consuming the product here on JOMBOY Media. We'll see you next time on the Chris Rose Rotation.